Welcome to OOD Works, the podcast, a show about unique individuals and the services provided by Opportunities for Ohioans with Disabilities, the state agency that helps individuals with disabilities find a job and be more independent. Here's your host, Kim Jump.
James Sims is our guest of the OOD Works podcast today. And James, I want to thank you for taking time out of your schedule to meet with you. I'd heard from one of our staff, Shane Harris, that you would be a great person to talk to with a connection to the Ohio State University. So I'm really excited to dive in and find out just kind of about your experience. And let me just start off by asking, when did you first get involved with the agency?
Well, thank you for having me on your podcast. I'm really happy to come on and talk about my experiences with OOD. It's probably been about 6 years ago. I first started experiencing some visual issues about 7 years ago. And then, after some medical procedures, kind of quickly realized that I was going to need some additional services. So I engaged with OOD about 6 years ago. And, I just kind of, my experience is what I thought was going to be and what it ended up being were on two different sides of the spectrum. So it's been something along the way. I'm glad to talk about it today.
Well, great. So take me back, if you're comfortable with talking about what was happening with your vision. Was it impacting your daily life when you first got connected, or kind of what was happening with you?
Yeah, I noticed, and this all happened, shortly after my 40s. I noticed I had some vision issues and was having difficulties, driving, seeing at night and using the computer. And then, went to an optometrist who said, referred me to an eye surgeon. And then through a series of exams, kind of noticed that I was having some serious, ocular issues and some other, issues that were going to be long-term and needed some serious medical care. And so, as a result of, a few surgeries and some other items going on, I lost a lot of vision and quickly knew that I was going to need, some services and some accommodations if I wanted to continue to work in the same, field that I work in.
Mm-hmm. For you, was that vision loss, did it kind of happen quickly then? Once it began?
Once
or
it began,
was gradual?
it happened, I'm going to say quickly, over a kind of a 12-month period. I remember vividly the very last day that I drove my car, and thought, I don't think I'm going to be able to drive anymore. It's just not safe.
Wow.
And so over a 12-month period and a few surgeries, I just was unable to drive and to do some of the things that I had normally done with this kind of acute onset condition that I had. And then got connected with OOD. And man, when I really first thought, I didn't know of any of their services. So I thought, oh man, they're going to have me doing things that are way outside of, what I've been doing previously. Because, I'd earned a master's degree in marketing communication, had taught at, Franklin University, Columbus State Community College, had worked in marketing communication, for most of my career, and thought, oh man, this is over. I just had no idea any kind of accommodations or services, existed.
Oh, so you were thinking maybe you'd even have to change your profession.
Oh, I know. Yes. And when I first met with Amy Beavis, she was so patient and gracious, because I just was like, hey, listen, I know that you're going to stick me somewhere and have me, maybe moving boxes or, driving a forklift. None of those things. I couldn't drive a forklift if I had to, but I didn't want to do those things. So she was just so patient with me. She was like, no, just relax. Let me walk you through our services. Let me do our intake with you and let me show you what's available. And our goal is to get you working and, back to the things that you love to do. And so I told her, okay, I trust you, and let's take this journey together. And it's been wonderful. It's been wonderful.
That's great. And she was probably very knowledgeable about the technology technology that you, as someone that wasn't as familiar with having experienced vision loss, it was all kind of a whole new world to you. I'm guessing that some of those technological kind of connections, resources were probably helpful.
Absolutely. I had zero idea about what kind of, accessibility accommodations were available. And she quickly introduced me to, to Zoom text, which I use on a daily basis. She introduced me to some Microsoft keyboard strokes that allow me to navigate the computer. We did an assessment of how I can access, just my daily life, connected me with some transportation services, and has just been, it just allowed me to continue to do the things that I've, been educated to do, and has just been wonderful.
Yeah, it sounds like that was really important to you, to be able to continue. It's like you didn't want to, and I mean, who would want to have their life radically change? I'm just guessing it was probably very empowering for you to know that no, you didn't have to change your whole profession and skill set and all of the skills and experiences that you had built up over your career.
Correct. And, I just didn't know what I didn't know at that point. And, just dealing with the trauma of, being in the situation and having this, visual loss was a whole set of things I was working on, in addition to learning, how to navigate my new world.
Yeah. Wow. So at that time, were you working?
I was working for the state of Ohio, and just had to step back from that position for a while, and then took a few probably 16, 18 months off to make sure to learn what I needed to learn, to navigate my new world, and to begin to learn my new kind of accommodations. And so OOD's goal is to get, people back to work. And that's exactly what happened. Once I was comfortable, my vision was stable, and my surgeries were behind me, I worked with with OOD to, to begin to head back to work in the profession that I love.
Yeah, that's great. What about at your home? Did you take advantage of any of the services to help you, support greater independence in your home too?
I did. And so
Good.
I was able to, find some ways to label some items, because, my vision, everyone vision loss, what I've learned is a spectrum. And so I have, although I'm legally blind, I have some vision. And so I'm able to navigate and, still do the things that I like to do around the house, and, larger screens, magnification, those kinds of things help out on a daily basis.
Yes. Yeah, that's great. So you got to this point where, as you explained, the surgeries were behind you and you were ready to get kind of back to work. So then kind of what happened?
OD connected me with Susan Walters at the Matrix Company, who was assigned to me through her organization to help me navigate the application process to find a job. And, she has been and continues to be just a wonderful resource, friend, blessing along the way, because, she's helped me navigate, she's done everything from help me review my resume, to help me, navigate some of the jobs, because, some of the software, although the Zoom Tech software is helpful, at times it's just, it doesn't read it kind of in a fashion that you would normally read. And having Susan around, has just been an amazing, opportunity for me to find jobs, to look at my resume, to bounce ideas off of, and to ultimately, get offered positions, and continue to work.
Oh, that's great. That's wonderful. At that point, were you kind of working with her too to just watch open positions once you had your resume kind of in good shape and you were feeling ready?
Yeah, we look for open positions, and when I first started applying, I had some specific criteria. I wanted to go back to work on kind of a part-time basis, but
Hmm.
I had a really list of specific, criteria. I wanted to work, in a nonprofit setting. I wanted to do something that was, going to be a benefit to, you know, to, to society. I had worked in a previous position and thought, this has been, it was a really good position for me, but going forward, I wanted to do something different. And so we were able to find, a kind of a half-time job that allowed me to continue to, use my skills in marketing in a position that was in healthcare for those who are, marginalized and underserved. And so it was a really, really good fit at the right time. And Susan and Amy helped me secure that position. And I worked there for 4 years before, um, transitioning to my current position.
Oh, that's great. So did that, I love when people know what they want. I think that's great because then
Mhm.
you know what, I think it helps the staff too to try to put the puzzle pieces together and make sure that, it is going to be a good fit for you. And
Yeah.
I'm just guessing that given kind of the life changes you'd experienced, I could see where part-time and, that setup would be a nice way to kind of transition back.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it was just the healthcare organization that I went to was very accommodating of my um, visual needs. They provide me, the software and the hardware that I needed, and were really great. So I've had
Good.
really good experiences with them, and it was just it was a good fit at the right time.
Yeah. So you did that for about 4 years or so. And then at that point, were you just feeling like you wanted to move into something full time?
Yeah, at that point, I was ready to move on to something full time, and so, once again, I contacted Amy, and Amy put Susan Walters and I together,
Hmm.
and we kind of engaged on a journey to find a position full time that met my work criteria, what I wanted to do, salary expectations, and the kind of met with my background as well. And so,
Yeah.
after working with Susan, I was offered a position at the Ohio State University as the marketing and branding manager for, this is a long title, the College of Arts and Sciences Center for Career and Professional Success. And so, in that capacity, my role is to help market the career services that are available to the College of Arts and Sciences students at the Ohio State University. So, all of the email marketing campaigns, the social media, a lot of the writing content, graphic design is primarily what I do, some video, development. And so it's a really good job. I have progressed in the career, and I'm really happy there. And I will tell you that the university has been utterly amazing in terms of accommodations for whatever disability needs that I have, and that's
Excellent.
from day one. Um,
Excellent.
I was a little worried. I'll tell you a story. So when I came on, and the disability office asked me, okay, what size monitor you? We can give you kind of 27, or we can give you 32. And I thought, okay, I don't, you don't have to buy me a 32-inch monitor. And the lady says, listen, we will get you whatever you need to perform your job at the best, ability. So
That's
don't try to
awesome.
save us, $114. Whatever we need to get you, we can get for you. And so they provided, a monitor for me. I've still got an iPad that OOD provided to me that, does OCR, character recognition. It reads, it does a lot of things. And so, I've got the larger keyboard, and, they've been amazing. And so I just found out that OOD provided, awarded the Ohio State University an award simply because of they're going above and beyond to help those with disabilities, successfully perform their jobs. And I can attest to it firsthand that the university has been nothing but just stellar, really stellar, and helping me, transition on board and perform successfully.
That's wonderful to hear. And yeah, the Ohio State University Wexner Medical Center were the recipients of the 2022 Governor's Inclusive Employer Award. And so, we think of, accessibility for students, inclusion of, students with disabilities. Not only that, they're an employer that cares about inclusion, and how much that must have meant to you as a new employee to have that kind of welcome and that kind of support of your accommodations mattered from day one, like you said.
Absolutely. It was just, when you come on to a position, with a new organization, you really want the focus of your time and your talent and your attention to be on the job, learning the actual job. You don't want the idea of accommodations getting in your way. And that's exactly what the Ohio State University did. They said, hey, listen, we'll take care of your accommodations. You just focus on learning the job, learning the Ohio State University system. And it just allows me to push all that to the side and actually, get to the job at hand.
Yeah. And it sounds like the job too continues to check some of those boxes that were important to you when you went back part-time. It's like you build on that, it sounds
Absolutely.
like.
Absolutely. I earned a master's degree in marketing and communication and spent years teaching at both Columbus State Community College and Franklin University. And so having the ability to have this job, support student success is something that's important to me. And I don't have direct student contact as an adjunct or faculty member, but the ability to share student stories and student profiles and, career fairs with students and, resources for students is something that I enjoy doing.
That's great. Any teaching still these days? Or do you feel like you kind of get that, you get that need met through what you're able to do with the student contact?
No teaching nowadays because I have a whole different passion that I'm doing in, the other hours that I have when I'm outside of the university. I wrote a children's book and published a children's book.
Oh, cool.
And, I did that over the last, that's been 3 years in the making.
What's it called?
I will give a plug for it. It's called
please.
The Incredible, Amazing, Fantastic Life of Mr. Smith. Yeah, The Incredible, Amazing, Fantastic Life of Mr. Smith.
Okay.
It's a story about a dad who tells tall tales to his son.
Fun.
And I wrote the book for two reasons. Just because, when my son was younger, I loved reading to him and he loved story time, but it was hard finding stories that featured African American characters.
Mm-hmm.
And so this has an African American dad, and his superpower is that he keeps his shirt and tie on the entire story. But I spent time doing that because I thought, I've had this story in my head, and these stories. This is the first in a series, but I've had them in my head, and I am not going to let this disability, keep me back. And so, when I was working, part time, I would, the rest of the week, when I was off, I would write the story and edit it and work on the designs and try to find a publisher and do all those things necessary. And, so to answer that other question, I replaced, teaching with, writing this book, and, currently in my spare time working on the second book. So.
Well, that's great. Where can listeners find it?
Listeners can find it on Amazon. They can go to Barnes & Noble, find it online, or they can go to j3books.shop. And that's on Shopify app. So if you want to get a copy, I would encourage you, and I'll encourage you, if you want to read to your children, read this book. If you don't want to read this book, just read to your children in general.
That's a great message. I love that. And we'll make sure that we put links in the show notes and make it easy for people to get to that. That's great. And I noticed what you said too about not wanting your disability to hold you back. You had this vision of this, and you weren't going to let that stop you.
Yeah, and this is, my son is 16 now, and I thought, okay, one day, and finally I thought, okay, one day is here. Let's go, start writing. And so that's, took a while to get it, but I'm proud. I got it from concept to completion, and we had our first book signing earlier this summer, and in a bookstore downtown, and did some stuff in German Village. So it's been amazing. And I don't know, to be honest with you, Kim, I don't know if I would have got to this point if I hadn't had the disability.
Oh, really?
I don't know, because this disability has made me focus, has made me kind of do an assessment, and really kind of narrow down, really, what do you want to do? What do you want to be? What do you want to spend your time doing? What's important to you? And I think part of that was COVID, because we all had some time to reflect whilst we were all in the house, and everything was shut down. But I think part of the disability made me go, I don't want this disability to be a reason why some of these dreams didn't get accomplished.
Yeah. That's great. I'll definitely be getting it. That's very cool.
Good.
Tall tales are just fun.
They are fun. And I would always just make up stories and tell him. And so I've got, half a dozen stories, that the ones I used to make up and tell him, and then, putting them into a book, and, it's been pretty cool.
Yeah. Did you do the design work for it as well?
I found a graphic designer who is utterly amazing to do these illustrations. And when people look at the book, they go, yeah, I really love the story, but the illustrations are amazing. I'm like, yeah, I know, but the story is really good too. So yeah, you know how it goes.
Well, that's great though. I can't wait to see it. I'm going to, as soon as we get done, I'm going to look it up. That's
Take
really
a look
cool.
at it.
Yeah. So, anything else you would want to say about, your work responsibilities there at the Ohio State University?
I will tell you that I'm really grateful for my position, just in general, just in terms of the disability. I'm grateful to the university for allowing, for providing accommodations, and anytime I run into an issue and say, hey, I can't access this form, or this website is a little difficult, staff from every facet of the university are tuned in to say, oh, we got you. There's never any, well, you should just go ahead. And no, they are always, responding to me with positive reinforcement of, no problem, we will make this accessible for you. Here's a workaround. And so, in addition to talking about that, I will encourage anyone who, when you have a disability that's brand new to you, or you have a disability that you think, I can't, or I'm not sure. My message of encouragement to folks is to say, just give it a try. Mm-hmm. Just meet with someone from OOD, connect hopefully with someone from Matrix like Susan Walters, who's going to be, an amazing advocate for you. Keep an open mind, and just realize this is, it's part of what is going on with you, but it doesn't define you at all. It by no means defines what you can do, what your ceiling is, and what abilities you have. So just lean in and get to work.
Yeah, lean in. That's a great message. I appreciate the shout out. Besides working on book 2, anything else that's on the horizon for you, James?
Besides working on book 2, trying to get a 16-year-old prepped for college.
Oh yeah, and that.
That's my other full-time job. So that's about it. That's about it. Yeah.
That's great. Closing thoughts?
I'll share that I just really try to keep an attitude of gratitude that I am, I don't focus on the disability. I am grateful for, the vision that I do have and the abilities that I do have. And so I think that's a message that folks should put in their pocket and carry with them. So.
Yeah, thank you for that.
A transcript of today's episode is available at ood.ohio.gov/podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a rating and review. We're on social media at Ohio OOD. Do you have a disability? Do you want a job? We can help. oodworks.com.